Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to this episode of Inside the YouTube Studio. I really haven't prepared for this video at all. I didn't want to prepare any answers ahead of time. I've seen other people's videos and I really just wanted to do this, off the cuff, as if I were being interviewed by James Lipton. So we'll see. We'll see how this all goes, and you can get to know me a little bit more. Some really good questions here. This tag was started by Living Looks with Meredith, and I'll tag some people in the description box, but I think a lot of people have already been tagged on this already, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. I was tagged by Winnie B. LV and by James Jam. So here we go. Question number 1, and forgive me, I have an itch. What designers, design houses have made the greatest impacts on your fashion choices and purchases? I'm going to say Dior, Chanel, Balenciaga, but going back to the 50s and 60s, Pucci, Lilly Pulitzer. I've always been a fan of old movies from the time I was a really little girl, and I used to love to watch old films really from the time I was in grade school and like kind of even earlier grade school. I got into watching the Hammer horror films with my uncle when I was maybe 6 years old, and I was kind of a geeky kid, so I enjoyed watching movies. And then at the time, there was no internet, nor was there any dream that we'd ever be able to like pick up a phone and look things up. So you'd have to actually go to a library or ask someone and then do research in a library, or, by having people point out pictures and et cetera, et cetera. So I really love things like Christian Dior's new look. I love the kind of formal suiting on the top and then the cinched in waist and skirt, his typical new look. I loved Balenciaga's swing coat. That was one of my favorites. And I really always loved the look of classic Chanel from back in the 20s when she was starting to make jersey pieces, to the tweed suits and the chains and the gold details. I just thought that it all was put together in a very simple and elegant way, but still it stood out because she used fabrics that a lot of people didn't use at the time, and really kind of dressed women and invented sportswear and wanted people to be comfortable. And I think that that's really just inspired me in a lot of the choices that I make, because I like to look put together and also be comfortable as well. Even if I'm doing something that's, a little bit fancy. I'm not a button-up type of person. I do try to be, a little bit more loose in fashion. So the next question is, when you dress for the day or an event, what do you think about? Is there an impression or message that you're conveying? Well, the first thing that I think about is, what's the weather going to be like? If it's a rainy day, I know that I have to choose some things that are going to be appropriate for the rain. I might need a little jacket. If it's cool, I might need to wear shoes that are not going to be ruined by water. I need to think about how I'm going to style my hair. Just various things like that. So that's the number one thing that I take into consideration. And then the second thing would be the occasion. And, it really depends. I'm not going to wear a cocktail dress to go out shopping, but I'll wear a little t-shirt dress if it's a hot summer day and I just want to be really cool and be loose. And on the same token, I'm not going to get dressed up to go to the supermarket. That's not going to happen either. But I do like to leave the house being put together, and I guess the message that I want to convey would be, I'm put together, I'm neat, and I gave a little bit of thought into what I put on myself. And I think that that's probably the best that anybody can accomplish. I mean, I I don't really care what other people's opinions are as long as I feel comfortable and feel good in my own skin. So yeah, that's what goes through my mind. All right, what turns you on creatively? I think the main thing that turns me on creatively would be, oh, excuse me, guys, my allergies are awful. The main thing that turns me on, I guess, is just looking at beauty or experiencing beauty, whether it's a musician, an artist, an actor, a film, cinematography, a painting. When I see beauty and I see what someone else was capable of creating, it makes me want to create myself. So that's probably my biggest inspiration. And I don't want to imitate anyone. I just want to, it just gives me the motivation to go ahead and use my energy to make something that would be, you know, not inspired, but it gives me the inspiration to do something. What turns you off? I guess being too constrained, talking creatively, being too constrained, having too many limits on what I would be able to do or materials that I could use, or, being told that it's not an idea that's going to work. As far as turns me off, as far as people go, I would say things like being rude, being pretentious, being phony. Those kind of things really turn me off. I really don't like when someone tries to be a pseudo-intellectual when they're analyzing certain things. I mean, definitely it's nice to talk about things that are below the surface, but when people do so in such a haughty way, that's a huge turn off for me. Next question. How do you celebrate big events or achievements in your life? Usually I'll treat myself to something because, hey, got a reputation for treating myself. I love to go out to dinner. I like to make plans to go to a special restaurant, or maybe just plan a day to do something on my own and do something for myself. And it could be something really simple, like just taking a nice walk somewhere, or maybe going to have a facial or something of that nature that would be pampering. So that's what I do. I think that's celebration enough. And if it's something like a birthday, I'll tell my friends, but generally if it's something else that's smaller, I just kind of keep it to myself and do my own little thing. What is your favorite? Oh, here we go. What traits or attributes? No? Okay. Who or what inspires you in your everyday life? I'm going to say probably, a figure that's inspired me through a lot of my days is actually the artist Pierre-Auguste Renoir. He created my favorite paintings, the most beautiful art, impressionist art that I've ever seen. And he also suffered from rheumatoid arthritis. And by the time he was in his later years, probably in his 60s and forward, I don't remember the exact year, but he was in a wheelchair. He wasn't able to use his feet at all. His hands were so deformed, they were completely curved, and his son would have to take the paintbrush and weave it in his fingers. And his one arm, he only could use one arm at the end, could only move like this very, very, very briefly. And he invented a way to put his canvases on a pulley system so that he'd be able to paint. And at the time, he made either very large canvases or very small paintings. But even though he was in so much pain and he had so many things to overcome, he always stayed very positive. he still saw beauty and joy in everyday life. And, you know, thinking about those things really helps me never to dwell on things that could potentially get me down. So I think that that's been a big influence for me, because I've had some challenges, and, you know, health aside, just being able to look at things on the bright side is a good attitude to have. And that's where I've drawn some inspiration from. What traits, what traits or attributes attract you to other people? Honesty, kindness, being funny, um, loving people, you know, people with a warm nature, um, people who are gentle and not, you know, not someone who comes after you or is overly loud or overly boisterous. And I mean that, you know, in a sort of overbearing way, because I can be loud and boisterous, but um, I don't know if I'm describing this completely correctly, but, you know, sometimes you go into a room and there's just the one person who's just, you know, making themselves the complete center of attention in all the worst ways. And yeah, I mean, that's not something that I would be so drawn to hang around full time with, or something that would make me drawn to you. If you're too obnoxious, let's say that way, being obnoxious, people that brag, I don't, well, we'll get to that. um but yeah, they're the things that really draw me. Intelligent people, people with a very good sense of sociability, easygoing, those kind of things. So now, since I already put it in, what turns you off? Liars, people that are pretentious, obnoxious, um, people who are cheaters, you know, and I don't mean cheaters in a romantic sense, although that's awful too, but I mean just cheaters in general, you know, people who try to get by the easy way. I'm not saying that everybody should struggle, but I think that people who constantly, you know, take shortcuts, that turns me off. And some people are proud of those types of things. Um, and that's definitely not me. And people who are cheap, don't like that either. And I don't mean being cheap toward me, but being cheap toward themselves. 5 attributes that describe you: funny, creative, smart, um, caring, and generous, I'd say. What is your favorite word? Try, because I think that everyone should try. What is your least favorite word? No. What sound or noise do you love? My tiger purring and his little meows. Nothing really beats the sound of a purring cat. What sound or noise do you hate? This is awful to say because I know I'm guilty, but snoring, snorting, people that chew loudly, that really irritates me. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? I always was interested in psychology, and that's probably the one thing that I would want to do if I wasn't in my current job, and if I can go back, especially in research psychology. I think that that's something that I would really like to do. What profession would you not like to attempt? Probably mortician. I don't think I would enjoy that so much. Thinking of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Charlie work. Anything that has to do with like cleaning toilets or, you know, cleaning out hoarder homes, spraying for bugs. Oh, I just wouldn't last, not a minute. Would not happen. What has been one of the formative challenges you've overcome? I guess the obvious thing would be surviving cancer. And, you know, hopefully I have a scan coming up and hopefully that's going to be okay. But that certainly was a challenge. But I guess the other challenge would be just getting through college. I didn't have any financial support, so I really had to work the whole time that I was in school, and, you know, was left with a lot of loans, and it was hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was very, very hard. And I came out with a degree that I was never able to use, my journalism degree. And, you know, I was able to get a job, but it was a lot of struggle, and I struggled for a lot of years afterwards to get really stable. So yeah, it was really tough, but thank God those days are behind me, and I don't envy kids getting out of school at this stage. Absolutely no. What has been one of the formative, oh, okay, next question. 5 people, dead or alive, you would love to have dinner with. Albert Einstein, I think that would be wonderful. My parents, since they're not here. Marilyn Monroe. Anthony Bourdain. And I guess I have one more seat at my table. Idris Elba for some eye candy. Gotta do it. 2 celebrity hall passes. Oof. Man. 2 celebrity hall passes. Robert De Niro, right off the bat. I mean, sorry guys, but I've been carrying a torch for him. I don't care what he looks like now. I don't care that he's old enough to be a parent. I just love him, and that's just like an automatic. And my other one, just, you know, kind of taking my heart to the way back. It's a coin toss between Christian Slater and John Cusack. Sorry guys, but like Christian Slater is just a hottie. And John Cusack, well, I always looked at him as the perfect husband. So yeah, that's that. 3 celebrities you'd like to have a drink with. Jack Black, because I think he would be a blast. And I just think that he's adorable. I think he would be a lot of fun. Bruce Springsteen, who I would rather meet at the bar than at dinner, because I think that that's more of his environment. And yeah, just to sit and to chat with him. And, you know, he does go around some of the areas that I go to, and the highlight of my universe would be to run into him one day, but I digress. And the last one would be, and this is going to be really weird, Tanya Harding. Guys, I always thought that she was framed. Tanya was framed. Okay, she made some bad choices. She was involved with a guy who was bad news, but Tanya had it rough growing up. And, you know, she was really maligned. I mean, I'm not saying that she didn't deserve to get thrown out for the medal, but she was a far better skater than Nancy Kerrigan. And I think that that incident, that she really wasn't even behind, but it was kind of like a guilt by association thing more than anything, it destroyed the rest of her life. And I think that we would get along pretty well, believe it or not. And, you know, I don't want you to say, oh, well, you know, you would get along with people that are criminals or this, like, no, but I think that she would be just a natural person. I think that she would be fun. I don't think that she has the capability of being pretentious at all. And I think that we would have just a blast. So yeah, that's going to be my third. You know, I could just see us going to the bar, shooting some pool, cracking some jokes. It would be fun. So don't think any less of me for this choice. What song lyrics do you really connect to and why? Um, I'm gonna say from the following song, the lyrics would be blow away the dreams that tear you apart, blow away the dreams that break your heart, blow away the lies that leave you nothing but lost and brokenhearted. And that's from Bruce Springsteen's The Promised Land. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in those words. You're spending the next 12 months on a desert island and can only take one book, one movie, one TV series, one album. What are you taking? One book, whatever the latest by Stephen King is. I mean, that's just hands down. It'll be long, it'll be a good story, and I think I'm going to, spend a good time, and it's probably going to be one that I'll read through a second time. But if I had to pick one of his books that's already been published, I would probably pick 11/22/63. One movie, Silence of the Lambs. Favorite movie. Or flipping this around totally, An Affair to Remember, which is one of my all-time faves. But since we can only pick one, I'll do Silence. One TV series, The Sopranos. No question. I mean, there's a lot of series that I've loved. I could watch The Sopranos in a continuous loop for years, truly. They could leave me on that island and not come back, and I'll still be enjoying it. One album. I'm going to say Bruce Springsteen and Greetings from Asbury Park, because I think all the songs on that album are stories, which most of his songs are, but that album in particular just has a lot of stories, and I think that listening to this, I could really just kind of take me to another place, and I think about home, and I probably wouldn't be so homesick. Put together a playlist for us by choosing the song you play when you need to get it out of your own head. I don't know, that's a tough one. I don't really think that I have one, but I think if I have to pick a song that I would put on to relax or would like to meditate on, I'm going to say Pink Floyd, Breathe. I just love the music and the atmosphere and the soothing nature of that song. And it's very calming. And just to kind of dispel some myths, Pink Floyd actually wrote that whole album about Syd Barrett and Syd Barrett's mental health and his problems with drugs. It was never meant to be something that was psychedelic, because it just so happens that that's what it eventually came to be associated with through no fault of the band. But that album is dedicated to Syd Barrett, who they had a lot of problems with when he was in the band. And unfortunately, he did leave at some point. But Dark Side of the Moon is referring to Syd Barrett and his mental health. But yeah, Breathe is just one of those songs that you could just kind of play in your mind, and it's just calming. The song you play when you need to gear up for the day or a workout. I'm going to go with Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine, because that's always been a really good upbeat song, get you going. Yeah, I love it for that purpose. The song that gets you on the dance floor, The Electric Slide, probably because it's the only dance that I know how to do. The song that you love to sing at the top of your lungs in the car. That would be Pat Benatar, Shadows of the Night. And I also like to sing Four Non-Blondes, What's Up, which I sang in a contest once with a band. So they're my two songs. The song that invokes a string memory when you hear it. Oh, gosh. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. There's a lot of songs that I have a lot of memories and really specific memories connected to them. Um, Let me just try to pick one because there are quite a few. Um, I don't know. I'm just kind of getting stuck on one right now, and it would be Elton John, "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road." And it's not real good memories that I have thinking about that song because it reminds me of when I was a little girl and it was me and my mom alone, and times were really rough, but I remember hearing that song, and for some reason it just makes me feel really down, and not in a good way. And I love Elton John, and I love the song, but it's one that I can't really listen to without thinking of those things. And the other song that's got a lot of memories connected to it would be Led Zeppelin, "Black Dog." And the specific memory that I have is going to the beach with my friend Kathy. It was Memorial Day weekend in 1985, and we had a boombox with us, and we were on the beach, and somebody was playing some kind of music that was just awful. We had all these mixtapes that we brought with us, and Kathy turned to me and she said, "Which tape's got Black Dog?" So I grabbed the tape, put it in the boombox. We played it, and like 5 blankets that were around us were like, "Yeah, turn up that radio, turn up that radio." So every time I hear Black Dog, it makes me think of that incident. So I had to end that on a positive note. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? I guess I've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you. So, all right, guys, I'm not going to edit this because I want this to be really raw and natural. If you stuck in this far, thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'm going to leave some names in the box. Look in the box, see if you're tagged, and if you're not tagged, just go ahead and do the video, and let's get to know you all a little bit better too. Thank you, Meredith, for creating this tag. It was a lot of fun to do, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.